Hey there, friends. Today is Free for All Friday. We got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. Gonna have a little fun, and we're gonna talk about some seriousness too. Let's hope the end of the world is not right around the corner. First, guys, go check out my friends Attorneys on Retainer. These guys are not an insurance company. You've heard all the old news about the insurance companies, and some have changed their policies because they've got called out on stuff. Why bother going with somebody who has to tweak their policy to make people happy? Go with an actual attorney firm who's already making people happy. These guys at Attorneys on Retainer, they're who I have. They're who I trust my livelihood and my future to, knowing that if I'm carrying a firearm and I unfortunately have to end up using it, I'm protected by an attorney, not an intern on a telephone trying to determine what person they need to pass you through on a switchboard who's going to determine if they're going to cover you anyway. Sign up now, my friends, Attorneys on Retainer, for optimum protection in the unlikely event you have to draw your carry firearm in self-defense. Use my code FTATF and receive $50 off your individual sign-up fee. Again, use my code FTATF and receive $50 off your individual sign-up fee. First thing I'm going to talk about today, guys, you may or may not have seen this, but Melania Trump came out with a video. She's usually pretty quiet. She stays kind of tucked away, especially whenever, obviously, she's not First Lady right now. You don't hear a lot about her, or from her. You don't see her on the campaign trail or anything like that. She came out with a video earlier this week that was a little cryptic, a little different, but I think she's saying all the same things that we say. Let's watch the video.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
Now, clearly, she has the same problems that we do. It's a little odd that she's coming out saying this, especially this was a day or two before the debate. I believe one day before the debate with Kamala. So really odd that she came out to talk about this. Also, this is a clear, I don't want to say throwing under the bus, because she's not throwing anybody under the bus. She's actually correctly pointing something out that the Secret Service and the FBI are screwing up. Either hiding something, not being forthcoming, or something. And she's very right about that. It just seemed odd to me coming from her, because we haven't heard a lot of this concern from Trump. And, you know, Trump's usually not shy about talking about how he's been done wrong or how things have been done wrong against him. So again, it was a little bit different that it came from her. I will say this, and before I move to the next topic, she does have a book coming out. I believe it's in October. And the video that she put out does end with kind of a very weak advertisement for her book, which is titled Melania. So the book's not out yet. So maybe this was just a marketing thing from her. However, she's asking questions that we're all asking, and she's not wrong. Next up, you know, Congress and the Senate are teaming up in different directions. Who knows what's actually going to happen from this? With a full-blown investigation into the Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, all those folks, regarding a full-blown investigation into the Trump assassination attempt. It's kind of weird how things take so long. We all kind of, for the information that we were provided, got to the bottom of this really, really quick. Many of us did. Yet these are just skipping and hip-hopping along, you know, gather a little info here, talk to a couple of people there, even though the FBI ruined the whole site, investigation scene and all that kind of stuff, hosing the roof down and not talking to people, letting them go. Just totally a complete and utter debacle. Well, apparently this is not just a partisan concern by me and others like you guys out there. Blumenthal, you remember Blumenthal. Blumenthal is the kind of lizard-looking guy that lied about serving in Vietnam. He's been called out on that. He never served in Vietnam. He was in the Marine Corps. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in a way to make sure he didn't go into Vietnam back in the day during the war. Never stepped foot in Vietnam. During wartime or not during wartime. Lied about it during a campaign and was called out on it. So I rarely believe much by this guy. But even he has a problem with it. Again, making it seem like maybe this isn't so partisan after all.
I think the American people are going to be shocked, astonished, and appalled by what we will report to them about the failures by the Secret Service in this assassination attempt on the former president. But I think they also ought to be appalled and astonished by the failure of the Department of Homeland Security to be more forthcoming, to be as candid and frank as it should be to them in terms of providing information.
Now, he's talking about the Department of Homeland Security needing to be more forthcoming. What does that hint at? It hints at information being withheld from the people whose job it is to oversee the Department of Homeland, the bosses of Department of Homeland Security, the board members, if you will, for the Department of Homeland Security, are asking for information, and clearly DHS is not allowing that to make its way to them. Need further proof that my deduction here is correct? Watch this.
I'm told by people who are close to and have knowledge of the Secret Service's own internal investigation that the Department of Homeland Security is leaning on the Secret Service not to comply with document requests to Congress.
So DHS is trying to lean on these folks to get them to suppress information so more people don't hear about it. You know the question, right? You're thinking it in your minds right now. What are you hiding? You've already told us that it was a total screw-up. You've already told us that everybody messed up. At this point, all we know is that you gave some people some time off, and likely it's with pay, but nobody's been terminated. Nobody's been relocated, demoted, or anything as a result of this. So clearly, you've accepted, quote, responsibility for this, but you're still hiding something because there's additional information that they're asking for, and you refuse to give that to them. In fact, DHS is pushing back and trying to get Secret Service not to provide information to the Senate, to Congress, and whomever else is asking for it. Again, I have to ask this. What are you hiding? And why? Who does it expose? Who does it point the finger at? Is this going to be another one of the Biden laptop things where we brush it under the carpet right now, wait for the election, and a week after the election we go, y'all are right. This was a total cover-up. Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden were all in on it. I'm not saying they were. I'm telling you, this is the kind of stuff that happens rolling up into election time. They cover up and suppress information that the American people need to know, and quite frankly, we should know. We should be told these things. We're paying the salaries and benefits for every single one of these people involved here. We deserve to know these things. But they're sitting on all this information and going farther than that and trying to suppress it and hide this information. Guarantee you we will have a lot more information that will come out after November 5th, likely not before. In fact, Blumenthal was actually asked when this would be coming out, if it would be within the next week or so, and he said no. So they're pushing this back as far as they can. They've likely gotten all the information they need right now. Now, granted, a lot of it might be redacted, but they've surely gotten a lot, and they still won't put this out. They're trying to run out the clock right now. Speaking of running out the clock, did you see where these longer range missiles that we are about, and I say we meaning the United States, obviously we don't approve of this, but that we are going to likely approve within the next week, on top of the $200 billion that we've already given to Ukraine, where we're going to allow them to use technology, missiles, guidance systems, and all this stuff that can't be taught necessarily right now to Ukraine, which means NATO members or the United States will be in charge of programming and launching these missiles much further into Russia than what Ukraine is able to send right now. Here's a video, and I'm setting all this up for you because this next video is with Vladimir Putin, and it's got the English version below it. So you're going to have to read this pretty fast. So I'm kind of telling you what's going on ahead of time. I want you to see what Putin's reaction is to this and why this is a big deal. This is trying to get blown off right now. We know Joe Biden is not calling any shots. I don't think Kamala is. I really don't. I don't think Kamala ever was calling any shots. I always think that there was somebody else, whether it's Susan Rice, Ron Claim or whatever Ron's name is, Barack Obama, all these folks, Valerie Jarrett, they are still involved. And I likely they are the ones calling all the shots. So they are able to potentially start World War III with no repercussions whatsoever. Watch the video here.
Дни мы видим и слышим, как на очень высоком уровне Великобритании и США муссируется тема о том, что киевский режим сможет наносить удар вглубь территории России западными вооружениями большой дальности. И, судя по всему, это решение либо вот-вот будет принято, либо, судя по всему, вообще... В последние дни мы видим и слышим, как на очень высоком уровне Великобритании и США муссируется тема о том, что киевский режим сможет наносить удар вглубь территории России западными вооружениями большой дальности. И, судя по всему, это решение либо вот-вот будет принято, либо, судя по всему, вообще уже принято. И эта вещь, конечно, экстраординарная. Хотелось попросить прокомментировать то, что происходит.
Происходит попытка подмены понятий, потому что речь не идет о разрешении или запрете киевскому режиму наносить удары по российской территории. Он и так наносит с помощью беспилотных летательных аппаратов и другими средствами. Но когда речь идет об использовании высокоточного оружия большой дальности западного производства, это совершенно другая история. Дело в том, что я уже об этом говорил, и любые эксперты это подтвердят, и у нас, и на Западе. Наносить удары современными высокоточными системами большой дальности западного производства украинская армия не в состоянии. Она не может этого делать. Это возможно только с использованием разведданных со спутников, которыми Украина не располагает. Это данные только со спутников или Евросоюза, либо на Соединенных Штатах, в общем, с натовских спутников. Это первое. Второе, и очень важное, может быть, ключевое, заключается в том, что полетные задания в эти ракетные системы могут, по сути, вносить только военнослужащие стран НАТО. Украинские военнослужащие делать это не могут. И поэтому речь идет не о том, чтобы разрешать украинскому режиму наносить удары по России этим оружием или не разрешать. Речь идет о том, чтобы принять решение о том, что страны НАТО напрямую участвуют в военном конфликте или нет. Если это решение будет принято, это будет означать не что иное, как прямое участие стран НАТО, Соединенных Штатов, европейских стран в войне на Украине. Это их прямое участие. И это уже, конечно, существенным образом меняет саму суть, саму природу конфликта. Это будет означать, что страны НАТО, США, европейские страны воюют с Россией. А если это так, то, имея в виду изменение самой сути этого конфликта, мы будем принимать соответствующие решения, исходя из тех угроз, которые нам будут создаваться.
We will take appropriate decisions based on the threat. What he's saying is, if you do this, because we know it can't be Ukraine, because Ukraine doesn't know how to do this, so Putin knows it has to be NATO and or United States service members who are directly involved with launching these missiles into Russia. So by doing that, and by proxy, that means that United States and NATO are officially and technically at war with Russia, and that they will defend themselves accordingly. This is the doorstep of World War II. We do realize that, right? This is not a joke. And back to my Barack Obama, Susan Rice, and whomever else is truly calling the shots. Let's face it, guys. I'm not trying to be smart or funny whenever I say Joe Biden's not calling the shots. Do you really think that he is? I mean, you know he's not. Even those of you that are the wackos on the far left that watch my channel, because there's a good bit of you that do, you really don't believe that, right? I mean, you can put in the comment section, of course he is, but I mean, in here and in here, you really don't believe that, right? So in your own mind, think, who is? Again, you know it's not Kamala. It never has been. So somebody else is calling the shots, and by somebody else calling the shots, especially in such a volatile situation where we're on the verge of World War III, this is kind of like a kid throwing a rock over a fence and hitting cars in a parking lot. You can't see who it is, so you don't know who to blame. he can continue to throw the rocks over the fence and bust windows at a car lot. As long as no one can see who's tossing the rocks, we don't know who to go after. We don't know who to put in jail. We don't know who to make responsible for that and call them in and say you can't do that. We don't know who to impeach, right? All these things. This is somebody who is trying to toss rocks over a fence, and there's no identity tied to that person that is, again, this close to pushing us into World War III, which very easily, especially with Putin being on his back foot, could launch us into a nuclear war, which none of us will survive, right? So this is a dangerous situation. There always has to be somebody on the hook for bad decisions, and right now there's nobody on the hook for these bad decisions, so there's no repercussions. There's nobody to go down in history as being the one who sparked World War III. Name somebody. I mean, you know it's not Joe Biden. You know it's not Kamala. So who is it? Continuing on with Free for All Friday, did you notice the exaggerated facial expressions from Kamala Harris during the debate? Do not tell me that these are natural. They are extremely creepy and unnatural, planned, and she was absolutely coached. She apparently did not practice these too well in the mirror because she did not realize how creepy they would come across to 60 million people watching this goofball make all these pre-planned faces whenever Donald Trump was talking. This was funny to me, but sickening at the same time, because this is just further proof that nothing is natural with this person. Everything is planned, everything is scripted, and she's too stupid and incompetent to even make facial expressions naturally without being coached and told what to do. Now, speaking of her face, I want to make something very, very clear. I am not a good-looking person. I know that. I never have been. I've never been easy on the eyes. I'm what you would call an ugly person. So I say that because I'm going to use the same theory behind black people can call black people the N-word, black people can make black jokes about each other, gay people can make gay jokes about each other because they're gay or they're black. I'm an ugly person. I can talk about ugly people. It's fair game, right? Can we all agree on those rules? Look at the neck on this thing. Have you ever noticed the neck on Kamala Harris? That is one of the biggest necks on a woman I have ever seen. Now, granted, I have a really good idea how she, let's just say, conditioned those neck muscles over the year. I think that if you will look at the promotions and the elections she won over the years, you'll probably notice a general progression of the wideness and thickness of her neck getting wider as she got promoted more and more. So there's got to be a correlation there. But you know who I realized last weekend with the kickoff of the NFL season, who she looks like as far as her neck and some of her features? Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look at these two necks side by side. Makes me wonder what Trevor Lawrence has done to get his starting job, because we know what Kamala did to get hers. And finally, guys, I want to leave you on another kind of positive note here, trying to have a little bit of fun in spite of the World War III, the end is near discussion, talking about Kamala Harris and her forced facial expressions. I ran across this. I am a fan of the old movie. I say old movie. It's, what, 10 years, 20 years old? Napoleon Dynamite. I just love the movie. It brings me back to whenever I was in school, that same kind of time frame and all that. So all the little inside jokes and all that are hilarious for me. Somebody, and I think it is Mad Liberals who did this, they did a mashup, if you will, of Kamala Harris's facial expressions with the photo scene from Napoleon Dynamite. I'm going to leave you with this as we head into the weekend. Enjoy this and have fun.
Turn your head on more of a slant. Now, make a fist. Slowly ease it up underneath your chin. This is looking really good. Okay, hold still right there. Now, just imagine you're weightless. You're in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by tiny little seahorses. that was the one thing that's going to come out really nice.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.